time to get your opinion on the Bills and the NFL. Let's talk football live. Now, here's the 13 Wham Sports Team.
All right, welcome into Let's Talk Football Live, presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. The Bills getting ready for their Week 17 matchup against the Dolphins. Of course, the playoffs right around the corner. Dan's getting set up, and the Bills Mafia is going to get set up because some big news today as Governor Cuomo announcing that 6,700 fans will be let into Bills Stadium. You see other stadiums. The Titans had fans earlier on this season. Some huge news for the Bills, though, as some part of Bills Mafia will be in attendance in Orchard Park. Now, it's going to go through the longest tenured season ticket holders in terms of who will get the availability for tickets. Oh, look at that sad Patriots fan. That was nice to see. But, Mike, I mean, this is a big deal for Bills Mafia, and we know they are very excited to be involved.
And, you know, it depends on how you look at this, right? If you look at it, comparing it to 70,000 fans, it's not the same. But all of us have been to these games in Orchard Park. Jenna, I think you used the word clinical. It just isn't normal. It's sterile. It's very strange. And on TV, you are watching a TV version of it where they pump in more noise and all. At the game, it's quiet. So 6,700 fans is going to be welcome noise to the ears of the players who have been their own sort of cheering section during games.
Yeah, and that's my
cat. And Winston can't wait either.
That is my cat, Winston. Classic. But Mike, yeah, I think it's funny you talk about like 6,700 fans is going to make an impact. If there's just no way of getting around it. And Josh Allen said, especially in a season where home field advantage is pretty much down to nothing, and there really is no advantage besides minus some travel. Josh says he knows how much a couple thousand fans can have an impact. He called it a huge asset when he was talking about it last week, if they could get it done, and knows that how loud and how much energy and juice can really bring to this. So it is, especially for a playoff game, to have a little bit of an advantage, I think is huge.
And I think Dan makes a good point about what it does for the players. Now, what it doesn't do in a game is you're not going to have to worry about not being able to get a snap off as a visiting team. Yeah. Like that's what we've all seen and experienced, and seen the positives when the Bills are at home and the negatives when they're on the road, where it gets so loud you have to change everything. That's not happening with 6,700. But I do think, you know what I was thinking of, guys? Like, we've all been on the road with this team when they've won and had a limited amount of fans that have made it into MetLife Stadium, Foxborough, Foxborough, but, you know, in other places where they've won, and you can hear that 6,700. You know, even in Dallas last Thanksgiving, like in that massive place with 100 and some thousand fans, you know, the players could absolutely hear the Bills fans. And then at the end of the game was awesome because they were making themselves known. So I think it'll be more like that kind of experience where it's a more intimate group, but they'll be loud. They'll be as loud as you can be, I think, for 6,700.
Well, and actually, Pat Duffy brought up a great point. He's a season ticket holder. He was talking to me about, while, you know, Bill Stadium does hold 70,000+ people normally, it is a pretty intimate stadium in terms of the acoustics and how well, like, things are, you're right kind of on the field. So I feel like that will play into it as well. I mean, obviously 6,700 people is nowhere close to the amount that normally would be in there, but still it's still going to have that feel. And, you know, Josh Allen spoke after practice today. He did a video, Mike, if you want to play that, his message to Bills Mafia about the fact that they'll be in the stands, some of them representing next week.
Bills Mafia, what's up? I'm excited to let you guys know we are going to be allowed some fans in our first playoff game. Super excited for it. I want to thank all the parties involved. Obviously the Pagulas, Governor Cuomo, everybody else involved. Thank you so much. Let's please follow guidelines, wear your mask in the stands so we can have you guys for the rest of the way. Go Bills.
The masks, that's going to be huge. No tailgating as well. I know. I thought he's normally a thumbs up guy. He's going with the
future United States Senator Josh Allen. I mean,
thank you.
Thank the governor. And look, complain, everybody, what the governor's allowing, not allowing. What I'm encouraged about this, first for Bills fans, for the Bills players, I mean, it's the first home playoff game in 25. And yes, I was at the last one, and yes, they lost, and it was to Jacksonville, and anyhow, Jim Kelly's last game, by the way. But in this case, it's also the way they're handling this with the testing. It's a bit of a model, and I think that's how they push through, because hopefully, maybe this spring or summer or even earlier, at some venues, if you can do the testing, and hey, look, a lot of us would pay a little extra to get tested, to get to go see something and to get out and feel that way. I'm encouraged by that too, because I would say that is a sign of progress. It's one thing to just let the fans in there and hope everybody's okay and spread them around. To try to learn something from it and see what more we can do and still stay safe. So I'm happy about that part of it.
I think that's huge too. And they also added in the fact that testing as well as parking is a combined fee for $65. So I think people know that going in. And then the ticket prices that I did see start at $65 to about $330. And that's again for season ticket holder, the longest tenured season ticket holders, and then it goes down from there.
Yeah. One thing they're not doing, I think it was, I'm pronouncing it right, Swatis Billings said, no tailgating, ? With a big no. No, there is no tailgating. There won't be. In fact, it's also the first game I went to, the opening game, I thought, are there going to be fans tailgating? And there was not. They were blocked off. There was even sheriff's cars out there. So there was nothing allowed. And legally, no tailgating is allowed. None of those lots will be open. I'm sorry, Dan, I cut you off.
No, I also think it's interesting. I think one of the important caveats of allowing fans at the stands and going, by seniority, it's season ticket holders that have opted in for the 2020 season. And then not only that, the Bills may or may not have a second playoff game. If they get the 2 seed, they'll have the possibility of hosting one. But obviously, you can't automatically assume that they're going to win and then they're going to host in the divisional round.
Right.
But it's interesting. If you get your tickets and you say that you want to go to this wild card game and the Bills win and New York State and Governor Cuomo and everybody allows fans to be at the next game, because again, like Mike, like you said, this is kind of an experiment of hoping this goes well. There's no surefire thing that they'll allow fans in the divisional round if they get there. But if you go to that wild card game, you don't get tickets to the next game. Yeah. And let's be again, there could be 3 playoff games. What if the Kansas City Chiefs lose and the AFC Championship game could be in Buffalo? And it's funny. I was talking to my wife about it. You're really kind of rolling the dice. You get. Do you roll the dice and gamble on this Bills team winning the first game for sure? And so you're like, well, you know what? I don't want the wild card game. I want the divisional game. It's like, oh boy, I don't know. It's just an interesting dynamic.
It is, but the good point is, right now they are scheduled for 2 home games. If they win right now that could change Sunday, but they are scheduled for 2. So they are either playing a second home game if it stays this way, or the season is over. So, I mean, you could hold out for that second game, because all I'm saying is if you don't go to if there isn't a second game, that's because the first one didn't go well. So you may have not been missing out on something great. But that's down the line. Just to emphasize for everybody, there is no fans in the stands for Sunday's game against the Dolphins. It's just for the playoffs. And we don't know who they're playing, when the game is going to be, what time the game is going to be. Yeah. Hopefully, prime time, 13 WHAM TV, but we will see. You never know. But we'll see what happens with that game. The Bills have been the kings of prime time this year, certainly in the ratings, and then doing it that way. So we'll see if they end up that way.
I'm going to read Thomas's
Sunday and Monday. Don't let them play on Saturdays, or what was it? Oh, they won on Saturday. The Tuesday game.
Tuesday.
Right now, there's no Tuesday game. Let's stay away from the Tuesday game.
Yeah, just in general, no one's ready for Tuesday NFL games. I saw a comment, Thomas Burke, saying, "I'm waiting till the AFC Championship game." So
attaboy, Thomas.
He's going to roll the dice. But, Mike, you bring up the game on Sunday. It will not have fans at Bill Stadium as Buffalo hosting the Dolphins. But Sean McDermott and company with some big decisions ahead, whether or not who they're going to start, who they're going to let sit. We know Cole Beasley. We'll get into him in a little bit. But, how do you prepare? Because there is the 2 seed on the line. What do you look at? Because there's a lot of tough decisions that need to be made as the Bills look to start the playoffs and start them healthy.
Yeah, I find it very interesting in how they're going to handle this, and they'll keep it close to the vest. There's not really any reason. It's not even as much for strategy reasons. It's. I think they'll keep it close to the vest because they don't need to hear any of the noise one way or the other. They're playing guys, not playing guys. You just get ready for the game. They make those roster decisions. So today we were doing our interviews, and I was talking to Jordan Poyer. And I looked to make sure, but I thought he did play. If you guys remember, week 17 last year, they played the Jets, and they rested a bunch of guys. Jordan Poyer was one of the guys who did play. Not a ton, but he did play in the game. And what I wanted to know is, do you know? Do you want to know? Do the coaches come to you during the week and say, you're going to get 2 series and you're going to be out? I don't think that's the way they really operate with these guys. I think they want them to approach it the regular way, and when they're ready to take them out, they take them out. So I asked Poyer,
mentally, you got to prepare like you're playing the entire football game. That's my mindset. I know that's every guy's on this team's mindset, is that we're going to go out there and play, and not only just play, we're going to go play to win. And so that's got to be our daily approach. That's my daily approach when I woke up this morning. I'm expecting to play the entire game, and so I gotta prepare that way. I gotta, mentally and physically, and that's probably a question that's above my pay grade. So I'm just going to continue to prepare myself and help prepare these guys to go out there and play at a high level.
I find that interesting, and it's at different times and different levels played sports, and there was a way you would sort of prepare to play a game, and I think that part is what they'll want the players to go through. Whether that's to play, keep that routine. Everybody loves those routines. The players love them. You practice a certain way. You prepare a certain way. You study a certain way. And if they decide to go out and play, Jordan Poyer might play 1 series, 2 series. He might play a half. He might not play at all. But I think the idea for the week is prepare, just like he said. Like we're going to – and then if they don't play that many snaps or don't play whatever it is, or – maybe in the first quarter, Dan, they look up and see Cleveland's up 21-3 on the Mason Rudolph Steelers, and they go, okay, let's get everybody out of the game. I don't know.
I just don't think that's Sean McDermott's mindset. I don't think that it was funny. He was asked about Mike Tomlin going with Mason Rudolph as the starter. Again, 2 totally different situations. Obviously, the Steelers can get the 2 seed. The Bills can obviously get it with a win, but they can also get it with a Steelers loss. So there's 2 ways that the Bills can maintain that 2 seed.
Right.
But the Steelers haven't had a bye week since week 4. They have been just really, really screwed over by the schedule and everything that's
really
happened. They played 3 games in 12 days. They just look like a beat up team. And Sean McDermott was asked on Tuesday if Mike Tomlin's decision to bench Ben Roethlisberger goes into his decision on starting, who to play. And he was asked about that, and his response was yes and no, which I thought was classic McDermott of we are kind of aware of what's going on, but I think they're going to come up with a plan, and I think they're going to go with it, whatever it is, whether they decide.
The cat.
Work from home life. I think they make a decision, they stick with it, whether that decision is we're going to win, or whether that's the starters are going to play to win till halftime, and that's it, or we're going to rest the starters altogether. I don't know. It'll be one of those 3 options. And I think that Sean McDermott will have his game plan going in Sunday and won't matter what the other scoreboard says.
And Jenna, I just have a feeling he will have a plan. And I don't believe it's going to be, this sounds weird to say about Sean McDermott. I don't believe that the plan number 1 is winning the game. I believe when the players are on the field, he's trying to win the game.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're out there, we're going to try to win. Like Matt Barkley's going to try to score, and they're going to try to win. Right. Or he's going to get sacked or hand off for a touchdown. But the idea being okay, it's not worth it for Josh Allen to be playing deep into the 4th quarter in this game.
Yeah.
Whatever it happens to be. I just don't think – I think they're going to play. I really do believe the starters are going to play. But then the question is how much, and at what point is his plan to say, I want to get him some good work and get him out. More so than winning. Like if it was for the bye, if it was like the 2nd seed got a bye, then you're playing all out in this game, because that's like winning a playoff game. I mean, you advance. they don't get a bye this time.
I think I would imagine that Sean McDermott, knowing Josh Allen, I think he would want to play. Like, I think he would want to play to get in a rhythm, make sure that he can have a couple plays under his belt. I could see him going maybe like 3 to 4 series, right, and then moving to Matt Barkley.
How many touchdowns is that for Allen? 3 to 4.
I would say 3 but Miami's defense is pretty good. You got to hand it. But
I didn't mean it against Miami as much as I meant it that Allen's been on a bit.
Oh yeah, he can score. Basically,
the only thing about him is, Jenna, I mean, he's kind of fallen a bit because he didn't even win Player of the Week.
I mean, geez, can you imagine how embarrassed he must be? There's Stephon Diggs wagging his finger saying, "Yep, I got the AFC Offensive Player of the Week locked up." Second week in a row it goes to fesomeone in Buffalo. And as Dan Fate said on his broadcast during Third Team Wham, they probably just passed the trophy to one another during today's walkthrough.
Honestly, I was wondering if it's just one award, and he's like, "Hey man, I'll take it back next week." Like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a trophy. I don't know if it's a plaque. I don't know how it exactly works. I don't know if it's like, "Hey man, I'll take that next week." And I don't know how it works. I hope that McDermott really did mess with the team when he gave it to Diggs when they got together today, because didn't Sean make some comment like, Josh, hey, he wins another award when he won it.
At least that's what we were told, right? When I asked, I was Poyer, I think I asked about it, and he joked about it.
I hope that Sean was like, yeah, Josh, again, great game. 4 touchdown passes. Obviously, Player of the Week was handed out today, and it goes to Diggs. Thank you so much.
Unless he referred to it, unless he said Stephon Diggs is the winner of the Josh Allen Award.
that is also funny.
That would be funny.
We have a question. Do you think our second string squad could beat the Dolphins?
No.
The Dolphins are good. I mean, they're not great, but they're good. I mean, when I say not great, honestly, Bills fans, what I would tell you is think of your team last year. Good defense, a different kind of quarterback, though Fitz does a lot of Josh Allen, hero ball kind of stuff, like when his helmet's getting ripped off. But that's a good team that believes they can go into the playoffs and win a game. And they're not great. They still got a way to go, but they got a rookie quarterback, at least for the first quarter or whenever it is till he gets benched in the game. And then they got Fitz. So it's no, the Bills backups are not beating the Dolphins straight up in that game. I do not believe this is going to be like 2004 with the Steelers.
Do you think Fitz plays on Sunday, Dan?
Yes,
I agree.
Dan? Oh,
hot takes, Fates.
Yes.
I agree.
Now that would tell you that I think he plays if the Bills are ahead. I mean, because obviously the score matters a ton to the Dolphins. Yeah. It is a strange one, isn't it? You've got the Bills playing a rival in the Dolphins. You have the Steelers playing a rival in the Browns. Both teams could not play at their top level and allow a rival to make the playoffs. That's a strange one. I mean, normally you're like, we'll do anything to keep the Browns out of the playoffs if you're the Steelers or the I mean, the Browns have been doing it on their own for a long time, but in this case, do they get in? And Dan, the matchups are strange because you really don't know. The Titans are 4th, but they could drop to 7th.
7th, yeah.
So you really, you don't know who you end up with by winning or losing.
Yeah, and it's kind of pick your poison. Like we've said before, Mike, I know you said that there's probably not a ton of teams in the AFC that can necessarily win the Super Bowl, but I think all 7 teams that get in can win a game. So it is interesting. And Hemi Bomber makes a point saying that I want to see them go 6-0 in the division. That would be another thing to check off. I mean, Josh Allen's having the best season a Bills quarterback has ever had. Stephon Diggs is having the best season a wide receiver has ever had in Bills franchise. So my point is, and what I've kind of been saying for the last 2 weeks, and I know Father Snowman saying that he would play Jake Fromm. I just think that I don't think that you want to mess anything up. You are in a rhythm, and whether, like I said, I don't think you mess anything up by pulling starters third quarter, fourth quarter. I think that's just kind of an extra rest. But I still want those guys to be going through the normal routine that they've been on for the last 9 weeks.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. That undefeated record in the division. So, Quarantine Mike had a little time on his hands the other day, and I went through every year of the AFC East because I remember the Bills being great. Now, fans will remember there used to be 4 teams in the division because the Colts were in the division for years. I remember when Peyton Manning was a rookie. I mean, they played them twice a year back then. And so it was 8 games in the division. 3 times during the Super Bowl era, right around there, the Bills went 7-1 in the division. Wow. New England, as dominant as they've been, only twice did they go undefeated in the division. One of them was their undefeated season. So they only did it twice. And it's 6-0 now because you only have 3 teams. And the Dolphins, who also had an undefeated regular season and did it all the way through, did it twice. Not surprisingly, the Jets have never done it. Though they did have 1 year, I think they had 1 loss in the division. So even though when I looked at that, I thought, man, that is, and we've seen New England do it. You dominate the division, you're going to the playoffs. You're going to win that division. And I mean, dominate division games. You win 5 or 6 division games, your chances of winning the division are really, really high. So, and it doesn't guarantee it. I mean, you could go 5-1 in the division and not win out, but it puts you in a good spot. And this team's in a good spot to do it for a while now.
No, I mean, it's been fun to see. And I know Bills Mafia has definitely enjoyed it. We do want to get to Cole Beasley though, because some interesting stuff going on today. Adam Schefter reporting that wide receiver Kenny Stills was visiting Buffalo. Then earlier today, they signed a practice squad receiver. Yesterday, Sean McDermott said that Beasley is listed as week to week with a leg injury. Dan, what do you like?
Yeah, week to week, Dan. Week to week's what got me there.
Which I feel like Sean McDermott says that when a player is hurt. I feel like he said that about Matt Milano before.
Yeah, usually earlier this year, week to week has meant almost IR. Meaning usually
3 weeks, 3 games.
3 weeks. So, Beasley didn't look good walking off the field. It's interesting. The Kenny Stills thing was a little bit surprising to me, just from the sense of he doesn't replace necessarily what Cole Beasley does. He's not a typical slot guy. He's more of a John Brown.
But you know what he does? He replaces Gabe Davis in that role, and Gabe Davis has to play a little more slot because they've talked about Gabe Davis knowing all the different wide receiver spots. And I mean, it's obviously a different type of target. It does change things. I got to tell you guys know, man, Cole Beasley's been. Yeah.
Well, it was also interesting, too, because the Bills also worked out another wide receiver today, and that was Tanner Gentry, who the Bills, or who Josh Allen was teammates with at Wyoming. And to me, that rang more alarm bells to what Cole Beasley does, because Gentry is more of a slot wide receiver. He's more of a typical slot guy than Kenny Stills is. And Mike, I never thought about that of who's making that move inside. That's a really good point because they've complimented Gabe Davis throughout the year by him knowing all the positions. So hopefully, I know Charity right here makes a comment saying, what about John Brown? Is he coming back soon? He hasn't tested positive. It has just been that he has been in close contact with TJ Yeldon, who did test positive. So we hope that he should be cleared. Yeah. As long as he hasn't tested positive, he should be cleared to go because they activated him off the IR. But in 2020 fashion, it went from one list to the other in within hours.
And by the way, Gentry, not only was he a teammate of Josh Allen, I believe Josh Allen
in his wedding party.
Was at his wedding. Yeah. How about that?
Yeah. Saw that fun fact. Hat tip, Joe B. Yeah, I mean, I just think, especially it being so late in the season, I think that to me bodes that something is, and this is just me pontificating and speculating that something's off there.
Well, at least
them so aggressively pursue wide receivers.
Yeah, and they're going to look at it and say it's going to take us 5 days to get the guy in the building. We're going to do all that. You know, you can do it. You have a bigger roster this year. You can get a guy ready, and you know, they are very good at wide receiver, and they get John Brown back and Gabe Davis and obviously Diggs. But Beasley is Dan, you were making the point. You can put another guy in that spot. You're not replacing Cole Beasley, not this year.
No, and like I said, and that's what's so unique. He is the true slot wide receiver.
Yep.
Like if you watch the Saturday night games, or I think it was Christmas Eve games or Christmas Day games, you saw Hunter Renfrow, like that. Like that's the closest other thing. Like a Wes Welker, the Julian Edelman, the guys in the slot that you just can't cover them. Like they're too shifty. They're too quick for middle linebackers. They're too strong for corners. Like they're just that matchup nightmare that a good slot receiver is like a really good tight end. It creates that kind of mismatches and confusions and headaches for defenses. And that's what Cole Beasley has brought over the last 2 years.
Yeah. And it's also the kind of guy that you really need to have something worked out with the quarterback. Like the timing's got to be right, because Beasley's even said, a couple of times he's done something different. He and Josh just get on the same page. We've seen this progress, and he finds him. He just finds him. And Beasley has just that way of getting open.
Mike, wasn't that kind of like Stevie Johnson? Like he was so unique at running routes that like
Fitz
some
was the only guy. Yeah, Fitz was the only guy to throw him the ball.
Because every route's a little different, and he kind of played with that basketball style on the field, and so it's just interesting where, it's not surprising to me that Beasley, especially his first year, was okay. His second year was better, and now his third year he's really blown up because him and Josh have had to get on that same page.
Yeah. No, I see a comment here saying from SWAT is Beasley equals clutch. I mean, he has been this season, and he's been that security blanket for Josh Allen. So we'll have to see going forward what kind of materializes. But it is, let's talk football live. So we're going to do picks, right?
Yeah, we can pick.
Okay.
Now what I've done on a couple other shows that I'm part of during the thing is we've done two different picks. Pick if the Bills starters play or if they don't play. Now we can do that if you want, or we can just go straight up and pick the game.
No, let's do that. Let's do both.
Okay.
Mike, we'll start with you then.
Why are we starting with me?
Because you talk the most.
Because you're the most tenured employee. That's why.
You've been doing this for a really long time.
It has nothing to do with a record.
Yes. Okay, so I would like to finish the year 15-1. I think technically I can rest. I get both a senior, a veteran rest day, and I get the bye going into the playoffs, but it doesn't apply. Mahomes and I are both going to be 15-1. Yes, I am on my bye. So here's what I'm going to say. If the Bills play straight up, starters play the whole game, they're beating the Dolphins. They're better than the Dolphins. They'll beat the Dolphins, and they'll end their season. And I would say I would have the score as 30-23 Bills. I take that back. 27-21 Bills. 27-21 Bills over the Dolphins. Fitz comes in relief, but they don't get it done. If the rest guys, Allen plays a quarter, whatever it is, I think they'll play hard. They'll play whatever, but I think the Dolphins would find a way to win the game and to stay alive. And I don't think the Bills would be that upset about it if the Dolphins won and ended up as the last seed in the playoffs.
Yeah.
As long as the Bills stayed there. I don't think they would be that upset with that as a first-round matchup. So I think if they do that and they take everybody out, I think the Dolphins find a way to win the game, but it's ugly. It's like 20-17.
Okay. I was thinking somewhere around that, actually. Well, you did like 8 picks, so.
No, my picks are Bills by 6 if they play the starters, and Bills lose by 3 if they don't play the starters.
Okay. All right, Dan, what about you?
I've been the worst at picks this year. I've been great on bets. I've been the worst at
Wouldn't
picks.
you rather be great on bets?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather be great. My bank account's a lot happier than being embarrassed by my picks on 13 Wham. But it's interesting, Mike. Is there an option to? I think they play the starters for half and then pull them. Like, is that? Do I have that option as well? Because I think that's the option, and I still think the Bills win.
Okay, so then you're fine. You can just go with one pick.
So So I'll go with one pick. I still think the Bills will find a way to win. I think they'll be up enough when they take the starters out. Like, that's how confident I am with this offense.
Okay. How about we do this? How about we do this?
Point. Well, here's the.
Go ahead. I was going to say.
I think it's an interesting.
What? I was going to say we pick the game, and then we wait to see who's inactive. And if we want to update, you can update. So I'm going to pick the Bills to win the game.
I think it's interesting.
27-21. Is that all right?
Okay. I think it's interesting, especially. Yeah, I think it's also interesting the fact that if Cole Beasley doesn't play and they're trying to bring somebody new in, whether that is, whether they have to work out, Gabe Davis in the slot for an entire game. I think the Bills starters could play into the third quarter. Am I still here? Or am I gone?
You froze for a second, but you're back.
A little bit.
Okay. So I think that the Bills starters will play at least a half at third quarter.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. I'm gonna say my pick because I feel like your pick doesn't want to come through. I did see someone comment too about nervous playing the Ravens in the first round, or the Bills should play their starters because that means they would drop to the 3 seed. Now, if the Steelers lose, that means the Bills will lock up the 2 seed.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's more of a discussion, whoever asked that or commented that. I have the Bills playing their starters for a half in this game. I could see everyone getting in a little bit of work, specifically Josh Allen. I don't think Cole Beasley's going to play. I think you could see some plays where Gabe Davis is in the slot. And then from there, I think that it's going to be a close game. I say the Bills will lose if Josh Allen only plays, for a half, considering the drop off in talent and also them resting other guys. But I would have it being a close game. So I would say about like maybe a 21-17, that type of situation.
Hey, I'm interested what you guys think. Jenna just mentioned it, and we were talking about it before. If Gabe Davis was the guy that they were going to play in the slot, do you put that out there in week 17? Do you have him do that?
Yes.
Yeah,
you do.
I would rather have him get those reps.
Game reps. That's what they talked about with Josh Allen going through the pain. When it was live reps. You can't mimic, you can't fake those. So I would do it. Also, JD, I appreciate you needing money to raise for my Wi-Fi. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Drop your Venmo tag.
I think my wife is FaceTiming somebody, and as well as like watching YouTube TV and Netflix while she's trying to get our daughter to bed. So like that is why terrible connection.
Is it possible that the cat is on the Wi-Fi too?
That is true as well. There's options in this. No, Mike, to your point though, I feel like even them faking the punt against New England, I feel like, and we talked about it because a lot of people were saying, why would you put that on tape? Why would you put that on tape? But you said it when we were watching the game, like now you have to respect that.
Yeah.
And that's something that maybe, and again, if I were Gabe Davis, I'd be like, yeah, I want, as a rookie especially, like if you're going to put me in the slot in the playoffs, like put me in the slot in week 17. That way you can get a feel for it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see what they do and how they play this game. It is unique times, because they have something at stake, and they're in a good spot. And the team they're fighting with, playing Mason Rudolph sort of changes a lot. My guess is if you're playing Mason Rudolph, your main wide receivers are probably going to come out of the game too.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just maybe he'll play a little bit and then he's going to take him out. So you kind of know that, but you don't know for sure. And you really don't want to drop to the 3 seed. So they have something to play for. It would be interesting, Dan, if they had already locked up the 2.
Yeah.
Then would he just have rested everybody this week?
I have a question. Speaking of rest, how do you guys feel? Report came out tonight on NFL Network that the Chiefs are going to plan on resting guys like Patrick Mahomes this week as well. So it's going to be about 20 days of rest before their first game.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
Okay, so it's Andy Reid.
Mm-hmm.
And when Andy Reid was with the Eagles, you remember, well, you wouldn't remember. Maybe you would remember. I don't know. They lost in the NFC Championship game 3 times. When they were going for the 4th, they were a dominant team that year. And Terrell Owens was on the team, and he got hurt. And there was still... Yes. And there was still 2 games left in the regular season. And basically, the big fella shut the whole team down. He played backups for 2 weeks, and then they had the bye. So he basically shut it down because he's like, we're not losing anybody else. And they went out and won, 2 playoff games, went to the Super Bowl, and then ended up losing to the Patriots. But he's not afraid to do that. I think he believes he can replicate a lot in practice and keep them sharp. Last year they had the bye because of Fitz. Fitz got him the bye when he beat New England, and they went out there and fell behind. What was it? 23-0 or something to Houston?
26.
Whatever.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing up.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out, Chiefs.
Not for Houston. Wait a minute. I said Houston.
Yeah. First it was Houston, and then it was Tennessee.
Yes, because it was Houston because they had beaten the Bills. Yes. So I don't know. It doesn't surprise me. If I was Kansas City, I don't think I'd be playing Mahomes and those guys in this game. I mean,
I know somebody makes a comment. Father Snowman says, not a good idea for Kansas City. They'll come out rusty. I just don't think Patrick Mahomes knows what rust is. I don't think that offense understands it. Like they can be rusty for their first 4 possessions and then score 28 points in their next 4. Like that's like, so if they're rusty on their opening possession, they don't panic because then they go, all right, there we go. There's a bomb to Tyreek Hill. There's Travis Kelce. There's this, and they're down the field. So I don't. It would be very interesting to see if they had the 2 seed locked up, because I think that they would rest more guys. I think that you would see. I think they would go if they had the 2 seed locked up. I think they would go with the same strategy they went with last year: a drive or 2, get them to run their 12 scripted plays that they want to work on, and then call it a day. Because that's what I just think they would do.
I think the Chiefs, the Chiefs have won it before. They know everything, and they want to maintain that status as the second best offense in the league. So we'll see how they do coming into the playoffs.
I like that.
Nice, you didn't even react. Look at him, Dan.
You're subtle. Look at you. All right, I think that'll do it for us. We will Dan will be at the game on Sunday.
Yep.
He will be headed up there. We'll have more stuff on buffaloplus.com. For Mike Catalana. Oh, I'm trying to think if there's anything. I'm all thrown off because today's Wednesday. Do you guys know Wednesday?
Well, tomorrow's, we wish everybody a happy new year. We thank you all for being part of our broadcast, both on YouTube and Facebook. And when we are on 13 Wham ABC, we've enjoyed doing it. So we're going to keep doing it. And this team's going to keep playing. We're going to be here. So how's that sound?
I mean, I think I know I'm ready for that. We got to talk about who's going to the playoff game. We'll do that off camera.
And you too.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us.
Your Wi-Fi was cutting out there for a second.
Thanks so much for joining us for Mike and Dan and Jenna. Enjoy and have a happy and safe new year. We'll see you on Sunday.